Massive, absolutely massive Tesla news this weekend. First, respected Tesla Wall Street analyst Dan Ives has come out with a new $515 Tesla stock base case price target and $650 bull case for 2025. Where Dan goes, other Wall Street analysts tend to follow. Second, Google CEO and owner of autonomous ride-hailing company Waymo, in an interview last week, just admitted that Tesla is a leader in the space. We'll watch that video and cover what other top Google engineers say why they failed to take over. Elon Musk has several comments to make about this also, with top leaders like Jensen, Huang, CEO of NVIDIA, also saying Tesla's the leader. It's hard to believe. Many still don't see it. Third, Tesla just dropped full self-driving version 13 as an initial rollout to customers last night, and early reviews are saying it's magic and it's a major milestone. We've confirmed the rollout includes Canada and the Cybertruck, but not yet clear it will include AI3 cars. Finally, Tesla Vice President Grace Tao just announced that all cars sold by Tesla in China are already ready for fully autonomous driving, and the actual Smart Summon is being rolled out. The rollout of FSD in China is on track within the next 3 months. Jeff Lutz is a multi-decade supply chain executive and chief quality officer. He's now CEO of his own high-tech manufacturing consulting firm. Welcome, Jeff.
Hey, Herbert. Yeah, there's a few things going on, right?
Yeah, and all these CEOs talking about Tesla, you've been pulling that out, you've been commenting on it, so very excited to discuss that with you.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've been seeing a rash of institutional analysts coming on and just outdoing each other. At first, it was the mid 300s. Now we're seeing them have price targets of 400. Now we're seeing 500s, and it's Dan Ives again. He's usually the leader in the space. He's raised his price target to 515. His reasoning is the Trump White House still. It's a total game changer for the autonomous and AI story. Bull case is 650 for 2025. He says the AI and autonomous opportunity is worth at least $1 trillion. Now, he's been very consistent about this. And so for him, I forgive him for continuing to raise his price, but he has been calling for $1 or $2 trillion for so long. I think the story today, though, is a bull case of 650 by next year. That is the highest. We have Stifle at 411 was one of the highest. Now we've got Dan Ives. What's your thoughts when you saw this?
Yeah, I was just going to say there isn't a single, until what Dan did here, there isn't a single price target above Tesla's current trading level out there. So I think this is the first of many that they're basically going to be in a bit of chase mode. But you're right, Dan has been out front of all of them, have been ahead of this. And you're seeing a lot of the analysts starting to, at least for 2025, start looking at something, close to $600. And it's always been about this separation of basically a company that was kind of in this 3-year grind, steady state, in the lab, working on autonomy, working on all these things that fundamentally do the next 10x in the industry. And we're right in that discontinuity phase, I think, of going from a current, kind of industry to a new one, a new 10x. And so when you're in that, when you're doing, it's almost like that transition, right? Of you're coming out of space and you're re-entering the atmosphere, and a bunch of different things could happen, and you're seeing this discontinuity here occur. If people are really honestly, they're deciding on what side of the fence they want to jump on. They want to jump on this side of the fence where the CEO of the company is literally the most powerful CEO in the world by his proximity to the most powerful, president in the world. The president of the United States is traditionally considered that. And also just the momentum in of what Tesla's actually, what Tesla's putting out, the Q3 that they printed, and then all this momentum in terms of what they're working on in the future, what we're seeing with Optimus, what we're seeing with FSD, what we're seeing with autonomy, the bullishness coming out of not only the top ranks of the company, but the engineering ranks of the company. And I think people are starting to, again, they're trying to figure out what side of the fence you're jumping on. You can't just be in this 90-day hamster wheel, kind of like waiting, or the delivery is going to be plus or minus 5,000 or this. There's a bigger move happening under us.
Wow. Did you see that stock price? It jumped again today by the time we publish this a few hours from now, it's $22, Jeff, $22, another 5% jump today.
It was incredibly underowned. It was incredibly underowned as well by institutions. You've seen this big move within the quarter, and Alexandra does a great job of dissecting this. You're going to see window dressing occurring. You're going to see funds that want to say that they were in the name at some point in the quarter. This is also not a target for tax loss selling because it's been this precipitous increase over the last 8 months or so. It's not like been this thing that's been, downtrodden throughout the year where people would want to take losses against it. So there's a lot of mechanical things working in Tesla's favor. And of course, there's people jumping in and trying to, pick that right point in time and trying to short it. And those are blowing up too. So a lot of mechanical things are working well for the company, but really the fundamentals were backstopped in Q3, Elon proximity to the White House. And really it's honestly this autonomous future, what you see with FSD V13 and what we're seeing with Optimus.
Okay, good segue here. It's interesting why people still think Tesla is not the leader when you've got CEOs of major corporations coming out left, right, and center talking about it. Most recent here is Sundar Pichai.
Sundar
Pichai, Google CEO. This was last week, but most people missed it. And he said this, obviously Tesla is the leader in the space. So I think it looks to me like Tesla, Waymo, I would say those are the top two. He might've said Tesla is a leader in the space, but let's listen into what he actually said.
I think last time you were here, we talked about autonomous vehicles. And others, including Elon, have talked about them being on the roads a lot sooner than they are now.
I mean, Tesla's making amazing progress too. Look, I think, we are in 6 to 7 cities already by the end of this year. We've always it's an area where we have let safety and our metrics guide. But I think we are already in the process. May I just walk through the scaling up? I think in the US, by next year, we'll be in 10 cities robustly, right? And in 10 of the major markets. So I think we are making good progress.
And who do you think of as the biggest competition in that space?
I think, obviously, Tesla is the leader in this space. So I think it looks to me like, Tesla, Waymo, I would say those are the top two.
Thoughts on that, Jeff?
Yeah, Sundar, I have great respect for him. He understands the space very well. He's highly technical, understands the space, again, super well. So they see it. We're going to hear from another major CEO in the space as well. And this has honestly been somewhat binary. There's a grouping of people that see what Tesla's building, see the data advantage, see the lead, and understand what's going on under the hood, knowing that there's a lag between, what they're doing in terms of it actually being released and put into production. And then there's others that are kind of trying to look at this like it's some sort of traditional one-dimensional thing that you go, just show me what the car is doing right now and I'll tell you if it's ready or not. And there's just a big difference in terms of the time to scale plans. You heard Sundar reference that. Tesla's has been building a mass production solution the whole time, and they've been allowing users to use it in beta. But in terms of a mass production solution, they're building something that would launch into the millions. And a lot of other companies have been focused on a lower volume, I don't want to say proof of concept, because they're giving a lot of rides, for example, but the scale of which when Tesla launches, it's going to be in literally an order of magnitude or more higher when Tesla launches. And there's just a difference in the solutions that are being developed. And I think what you're going to see is this migration to others that are going to want to migrate to what Tesla is doing, either through a license with Tesla or trying to build it organically on their own as they try to phase out what they're doing before. It's just a lot more difficult when you've made these strategic decisions a long time ago, whether it's your sensor suite, whether it's your approach to, are you going to build an OEM vehicle, or are you going to buy from somebody, tear the vehicle down, rebuild? Do you want it? A lot of these decisions, a lot of the right decisions were made 5 to 7 years ago, quite frankly. And some of this is going to be difficult to be undone. And just finally, what people forget about with Tesla is the silicon running in the car is Tesla silicon. It's just like what NVIDIA is doing. NVIDIA designs silicon and then they send it out for fab with a fab partner like TSMC, like Samsung. And that's Tesla silicon running in the vehicles as well. So when you think about when they refer to Tesla as being the leader, they have this full end-to-end stack. They own it. So we're going to see things when we talk about V13.2 about reducing latency and cutting it in half and just owning that complete system. I can't overemphasize the importance of that in speed of development and performance and cost structure.
Yeah, this comment you made about building it the right way, I actually have the engineer who built FSD from the beginning. He made comment exactly what you're saying. And then the people that were building Google's their version of Robotaxi, I've got that comment too. You know, like the decisions to make early on is very interesting. So here we've got Yun Ta Sai. He's now a lead engineer for Tesla's Robotaxi, Tesla's AI. And he said this: when I was at Google X, no one would think Tesla would make it, including Sebastian Thrun and many other executives. Google X was developing new self-driving platform called Firefly. No steering or pedal, but ever-changing hardware partners eventually slowed things down and made it difficult to iterate and scale. Jeff, this is lined up just for you. Ever-changing hardware partners, because Google is not a hardware company. They partner just like you did sometimes, but you know. Let me complete everything and then come to can you come back to this? Okay.
Yeah.
Eventually, Tesla solved the manufacturing problems, which unlocked many other things. Perseverance and strength. The vibe was 180-degree difference compared to 10 years ago. Elon said, strange, as Google was in the best position to solve for an AI self-driving solution. Yun Ta Sai said Google X was not in war mode. Very interesting. You said this, you had this really long thread here that was really interesting. You said, pay no attention to Jensen, Huang, or Sundar saying Tesla AI is a leader in autonomy. Wall Street analysts on CNBC and X looked up the SAE levels and said they see cars from other companies already giving rides, so Tesla must be behind them. You reminded everybody this quote from NVIDIA's Jensen Huang, and he said Tesla's far ahead in self-driving cars. This was just a couple months ago. And then, but then you got Wall Street analysts or these people like Ross Gerber saying, no, Waymo is well ahead of anyone. I've been quite impressed with its navigating through areas that FSD cannot manage. People in Santa Monica are using the service and happy with it. Google has the advantage and they're working directly with city and state governments to bring the tech to consumer safety. So people think that Waymo is still ahead. And then there's many who still follow the FSD tracker. You kind of made this funny meme. You know, what does the FSD tracker say, right? And then this guy, Parul Jain, he built Tesla's FSD. He's, of course, running his own bot company now. He was the former head of AI and planning. And this is what he said. Tesla FSD is on a great path because of the bet Elon made in 2014. Every car Tesla produces needs to have the sensors and compute necessary for full self-driving. It took 3 generations to get there, but it set the right constraints for the team to converge to a scalable solution. All other car companies that will still ship cars without sensors and compute in 2025, what will it take to change you guys so that we start getting dumb vehicles out of circulation?
Yeah. And I spoke about in terms of those decisions made a while ago and just the power of being able to do the full stack yourself. When I say the full stack, when you go from the kind of the base layer of silicon and the base layer of like layer 1 software all the way to like what's running on that silicon, to all the tools that are needed, everything, all the test suites, everything. Tesla's developed all this organically. So now this is what you're seeing. You're actually seeing it now in the V13 releases. You're seeing them now when they get to a new level like V13.2, it comes out for the X, it comes out for the Y, it comes out for the S, it comes out for the 3, it comes out for the Cybertruck now in the same week. Now they're able to unify these releases. How do you do that? If your code is spread all over the world with multiple different partners, your hardware is set all over the world, how are you going to manage the priorities of each of those builds? And how are you going to manage the priorities of all that activity leading into the next generation of hardware? Tesla is so locked in from AI 3, AI 4 to AI 5. They are so locked in. They have this end-to-end view of it. They've got the reliability people, crash detection, be able to go walk over to the silicon team and talk to them about photon latency, talk about control latency. This is very powerful. It's very understated, especially when you start listening to Wall Street. And then again, the Wall Street takes they're not all bad. By the way, some of them really get it. We started the show off with some that really get it. But most of them didn't. And that's why all the price targets are below where Tesla is. And we've always talked about, Herbert, on this show, on Cyberbulls, of trying to guess when the market is going to see it. The market always runs ahead on these things. And at some point when the market sees it, it's just going to go. And I think that's the point we're in. But these two gentlemen on the engineering side, they're at the ground level. They see it. They're part of building the solution. Yun Desai's talking about the culture inside of the company and needing kind of that, that killer instinct kind of culture, bringing everything in end to end, not letting any other supplier or company bottleneck you. This is why, we're going to talk about, Elon's on the phone with some of the fab leaders and heads of manufacturing for TSMC, talking about supply on product years from now. And because there is a dependency in that situation. But in general, everything that could be brought on the inside of Tesla was brought on the inside of Tesla. You have a person at the top, very technical, understands, how the entire system works, where engineers are needed, where they're not needed. By the way, it's highly efficient when you don't have too many people running around doing various things. You have everybody focused on building the product. That's another signature of Tesla. But technical lead at the top, very focused, hiring people in his own image, hiring people and building that culture out over the last 15 years. And this is and finally the cost culture and just figuring out how to do this, with minimum power, lowest cost, and that's how you get to scale.
Okay, I'm curious to see what you think. You were saying that many of the investors still don't get it, but now we're this next segment, it's a big news last night. Version 13.2 rolled out. It's starting to roll out, first wave. I'm going to report on that, but do you think many investors still don't get it, or the 13.2, when that goes wide, some people are thinking this could be it because it's looking really, really good, and that could just really just turn everything around? Do you think that, obviously it's probably a mixture of both, right? There's already been a rise up because people are starting to believe it's happening, but do you think this could be the trigger that gets even more people, in the big investors primarily?
Yeah, I think it started with the end of version 12, to be honest with you. Right. It got so good. The 12.5 series got so good for so many people. And of course there's issues. If it was ready to go, it would be the production release. So of course there's issues. People want to criticize, it's fine. The key here is relative improvement. And the key here is the speed and the rate of improvement that's occurring. So to answer your question, Herbert, I don't know if it's going to be the first release on V13 that's going to we're already seeing a big move up, in the stock. The stock's doubled in the last 2 months. So you've already seen a big move up. I'm not telling you where it's going per se. Yeah. I'm just saying the one release on V13 may not do it. But if you look at the V13 release notes, V13 really unleashes the power of Cortex. It really there's several major things that have been rewritten, cutting the photon to control latency in half. This is going to turn into like real comfort that drivers are going to experience and feel, because it's going to be able to decide on things quicker and move quicker. So it's a little bit less jerky. So I think 13 is going to allow it to get to unsupervised. It's going to get the safety stats maxed out. And then there's going to be this massive focus on human-like and comfort capability, and then finishing out obviously all the features. But I think we're close. I think we're close to that kind of that tipping point.
It's interesting that they released 13.2, and they were saying 13.3 was the one that's going to go wide release. So a wave of 13.2.1 is now going out an hour after initial wave and twice the quantity of vehicles. This wave includes all these different base vehicles, software versions. Here's the release note for 13.2.1. It's the same release note as they've released for the employees when they received it. but like you've been pointing out that 5 times training compute, data scaling, all these kind of the reduced photon control latency. You talked about that. So it's rolling out not only to customers, but including the Cybertruck owners. That was interesting. And it's going out to Canada. I think we at this point, we're still seeing only AI4 cars getting it. I thought this was a funny exchange. Omar says, my Cybertruck's been sitting there looking sad. FSD 13 came out. I think I'll take her out tonight. Being behind on FSD really makes the best Tesla a lot less useful. Choosing between best FSD and best ride comfort is always a tough choice. Cybertruck replied going, this is neglect. Ashok, don't make me call Cybertruck Protective Services. And Ashok said, are you happy now? Because they did release it to that. Elon said, Tesla has the best real world AI by far. And we're going to go through some videos there. Any comments about that so far?
Yeah, the best real world AI comment is not getting picked up enough by media, but there is a little bit of an undercurrent. First off, you had some of the hyperscalers and some of the end app developers saying, I see kind of this wall forming, and maybe it's just not more compute. Others are like, that's BS, just keep going. So there's already a little bit of a divide there. Meanwhile, Tesla is just plowing forward. And if you start thinking about the other things out there, I don't want to pick on any one thing, but you think about Copilot, you think about some of these other kind of, users, edge solutions that are in the hands of users. And then you think about Tesla and real world AI, and you think about the number of tokens being processed, or just the amount of information that comes in and the amount of control that comes out. I always think about the language models and think about Copilot and think about things it's seeing and like how much useful output are you getting? How much bad output, how much false output are you getting from these things right now? It's still at a very high rate. That you can't have that with Tesla real world AI. It's got to be 99.99x in terms of what it sees and controlling the vehicle properly. And that's why I just think it's so far ahead. And Elon makes this very subtle one-line statement about Tesla has the best real-world AI, and it's very powerful because they do. And there's a huge bit of alpha here because the number of people that have been exposed to FSD is still in the fractions of 0.1% of people in the United States, for example. The more people that see this and are exposed to this and know that they can actually go and buy it, and literally from their smartphone, they can go buy this and have the car within a couple of weeks and then download this software for less than $100 a month. It's free in the beginning. I think it's going to blow people away. And I think the FSD adoption ramp is going to have a bit of that discontinuity as well, where it's just going to have a fairly big step up. And you're also going to see it now, going to different countries, which is going to be even a bigger driver of adoption.
We're about to report on that FSD in China. But let's go and take a look at FSD in action now. You got Zach, Black Model 3, version 13 is mind-blowing. Here's the first drive video with FSD 13.2.1, 31 minutes from parking lot to parking spot with 0 disengagements or interventions. I can't believe how smooth it is. It's incredible. I'm going to play quickly his video. And it's funny because all these people are dropping these videos and they're boring. There's really nothing to see. Like it just goes. And it's like no interventions. This is fun. I mean, it's basically everybody's going to start dropping these videos. And it looks like that it's doing really, really well. Any thinking on this?
Yeah, Herbert, I actually bought a camera. I'll reveal this to everyone. I actually did buy a camera for the vehicle as well. And I thought maybe I could do, since the rides are going to be so boring, I could talk about boring, supply chain topics or something, boring like that to go along with the ride. It's going to be so boring, and maybe occasionally narrate on what the car is doing. But no, just, these, I appreciate, especially the first 4, Omar, JD, Chuck, and Chris and Dirty Tesla, they get these releases early, they get out there, they drive them. They get the video up so everybody can just see it for themselves. They narrate it, they talk through it, and they're really, what you really have to gather from their voices and what they're saying is what's the relative improvement and what are the, what are still the key open issues. And what I'm hearing in this release is way more human-like, and then you get in, you press one button, and you go from point to point. That's huge. So they're literally adding features. Finally, I think for the audience, Herbert, I want to draw this correlation because it kind of brings the whole conversation back together, back to Elon's comment of the best real-world AI. Look at the advancements that's happened in your Tesla. If you've owned a Tesla for the last 2 years or the last 5 years, look at your experience from when you bought a Tesla 5 years ago and you get in your car and what you saw in the vehicle, what the user interface was, the fact that you had to drive it yourself. And now look 5 years later, and now with this V13 release, you get in your vehicle and you just say where you want to go. It appears quickly on the screen. You press one button to drive and you go, and it literally brings you there and parks your car.
Yeah.
Take that, put it to the left. Now pick up, and I'm going to case on my own industry for a bit. Pick up your smartphone and look at your smartphone. Does your smartphone screen when you wake it up look meaningfully different than it did 5 years ago? The answer is not really. Does your smartphone do things now that it did meaningfully different 5 years ago? The answer is, well, yeah, it's taking better pictures. It's doing some, there's been this kind of gradual, just iterative improvement. But in general, if you picked up a phone from 5 years ago, you can still take some pretty great photos, have some pretty good battery life, and really run all the apps that are out there running today. You could run on your phone right now. So what's happening is there's billions of units in that industry, hundreds of thousands, if not millions I would say millions of people either building apps or working on the hardware, the software to get these products shipped. And here you got this small couple 100-person team in Tesla, and look what they've done to the driving experience. Compare, again, just in the last 5 years of sitting in your car and what that real world AI experience is. And now you're going to be able to get in soon with Cybercab. You're going to get into a vehicle. There's going to be no steering wheel, no pedals. And to me, the corollary in the smartphone world would be is there's not, 100 apps on my phone. There's just one button I press and I just tell the phone what I want it to do. I should be able to pick my phone up and say, hey, look at my portfolio and tell me if I should be doing any tax loss selling. Give me 3 scenarios, tee them up, and then, tee them up for my review, put them up there as a reminder. And then when I approve it, it should go into that app. It should trade it, and it should execute the trades. That would be the equivalent of what if the Android iOS world were operating at the same pace that Tesla is in terms of innovation with AI. That's the kind of things you should be able to do with your phone, but you can't do it yet.
Yeah, real world AI. We got more comments from Elon about that. We got a few more things to cover here. This is great. So you got Dan Birkeland. He's giving his first impressions with FSD version 13.2.1. I just jumped right to the ending here. He's got a very long thread. I'm not going to go through it. So just to summarize it, I approached my first drives with FSD with pretty high expectations, especially after logging over 2,000 miles with the previous version, which only had 2 disengagements. Tonight, I drove about 70 miles with the new version, and I came away even more impressed than I was with the previous versions. His closing thoughts: is now apparent that driving manually is no longer a necessity when you get into a Tesla equipped with FSD version 13. Even longtime Tesla owners familiar with FSD beta version 10 and 11 might underestimate how capable 13 has become and how closely it resembles a safe human driver. We're at a stage where we're fine-tuning comfort levels, seeing hundreds of miles between disengagements. While my critiques aim to further enhance FSD, I believe this version is ready for a broader release, and I hope the Tesla AI team will roll it out to the wider AI4 equipped fleet soon. That seems to be the common thoughts. Other people like Jay Nagy said, just installed this and did my usual test loop through town. Absolute magic. Not a single flaw to note down. I started this year loudly voicing about how awful and useless FSD was. Now at year end, I trust it with my life. Pace of progress has been astonishing. I'm going to keep moving here. We've got news here from China, and you've got reports from Grace Tao. She's the global vice president in China, and she's basically said all models sold by Tesla in China are already ready for fully autonomous driving in terms of hardware. Tesla's actual Smart Summon is already being tested in China. Tesla plans to launch FSD in China in the first quarter of next year, which will greatly increase FSD subscription. So this is Grace Tao, and our actual Smart Summon has already arrived there. This is one of the very first videos from this user Vio, the first test video of the Chinese mainland actual Smart Summon. I'm going to take off the music there. This is in China. It's just crazy for me that you can actually see that Tesla launched this. Any part of the world, here we got China, any parking lot in the world, and it works.
It's architecture, It's architected for mass scale. It's architected for global scale. And that leverage that Elon has garnered, with some of his bets and some of his decisions, and quite frankly, he is highly respected in China, both in the corporate world and the government world. There's stories out there about, China, banking on this relationship with Tesla and even trying to out leverage India. And FSD is architected to be a mass scale, mass production solution. It's been in the oven a lot longer. There's other companies like, look, they're giving rides. They're giving rides. And by the way, it's very difficult, if not impossible, to try to compare the stats and performance of those products to what Tesla is building. But it's architected for mass scale. There's rumors now that Q1 is now likely for China. Let's see. That's a big market, and there's millions of Teslas there. They are very tech forward. It will be a different behavior, in my opinion, than the US. I think you're going to see quicker adoption. So this is very difficult what Tesla is doing, because they're getting this thing built for the United States and Canada. They're spending a lot of time getting, and now they're obviously branching off and trying to get other regions going. But if it's architected properly, and it is, I believe it's going to scale.
Yeah. So that's why it's so important. Version 13 comes out. It is a big step change. What happens? It's going to roll out in China sooner. It's like, we're talking next 3 months, hopefully. We'll see, right? It's regulatory dependent, so we don't know. It's going to be maybe more partnerships will be announced sooner than later, because FSD 13 is looking really good. Here's the confidence from Elon. So you got Sawyer saying, when FSD version 13 is widely released, it will actually be the first time many Tesla owners experience full self-driving. It's going to be fun to see their reactions. That is absolutely true. And the Elon said, game changer. Omar said, almost nobody has fully grasped what is happening at Tesla. He's talking about Tesla in general, game, set, match. And Elon said, the path to overwhelming victory is clear, but a massive amount of work remains. Oh man, we saw this. He dropped this weekend, and I was just telling you, man, that what a sentence that is. The path to overwhelming victory is clear.
Yeah. They're just right now they're executing on multiple fronts. You've got the software services architecture front. You've got the new vehicles that are under development. These new modules that are ramping in the background, new battery pack, new motors. Then you've got the unboxed model that they're developing, and they want that'll be a new version of the factory, just like this is a new version of FSD, and there's new vehicles shipping next year. They're going to ship a new version of the factory at the end of next year and start ramping that. So when he says there's a tremendous amount of work to do, there really is, but they've got the right plan, and I mean they're really out front on a lot of this.
Thank you so much, Jeff. I appreciate you. You are always out front, and your comments and feedback is so appreciated. Follow
Thanks,
Jeff
Herbert.
on his X channel at the Jeff Lutz. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.